The Shark Deck.
Hello, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. The AV Club thought Joe Rogan had a good take. The take was on the Barbie movie. Rogan on his podcast said, a lot of people who were upset about the Barbie movie, I left perplexed. It was a fun, silly movie about dolls who come to life. A lot of it is about the patriarchy, and it's a comedy. It's a comedy about dolls. People are upset that it's a progressive metaphor for life, that they're pushing progressive politics in this, and I'm like, it's an effing doll movie. It's a doll movie. It's a fun movie about dolls who come to life and try to interact with the real world. I know some people personally who said it's anti-men. I'm like, no, it's making fun of dorks. Are we going to do this thing where we put all men as men in one category? We're not going to judge people as individuals? They think it's a super woke movie, but it's also a movie about how Barbies are the dolls that everybody cares about and Ken is just an effing accessory, which is real. So when you bring these things into a movie, that's how they have to be because that's how it is in the real world. 800-pound gorilla did a lengthy interview with Mark Normand. Mark said, I had a YouTube special because nobody would touch me. It was a huge failure, I thought, but it actually got a lot of views, so that did well. He was referring to his 2020 hour Out to Lunch. Netflix noticed, but they didn't want to give him an hour. They gave him a half hour. Norman said, my agent was somehow able to finagle me into a half hour on Netflix, which is already hard to get. I wasn't in the running, I don't think, but we got like 12 million views, which makes me kind of bitter because other people just get it without having to prove themselves. But whatever. The half hour went okay, I think. And eventually I got this full hour, and I think this is going well. So, hey, I can't complain. Mark Normand discussed the art of perfecting a joke and said, it's almost like magicians, where we want you to know, but we don't want you to know. We want you to think we're saying it right off the cuff, off the top of our brains. But there's also part of you that's like, screw that. I want you to see how much I slaved over this thing and how much time and effort I put into it. Vulture asked Paul F. Tompkins if he was always silly. Paul said, always. I was a real class clown, and I like making people laugh. It was very validating to me in the most traditional classic sense of, if I want you to like me, really meant a lot to me because it wasn't something that I was able to get at home. It was a huge thing to make my mother laugh, and we were a family that joked around a lot. There was a lot of roasting and stuff like that, but to get my mom to laugh rather than respond with something that completely deflated the humor of what I was trying to say or explaining to me, actually, this is why that is. I know why that is. I'm being silly. So when I could make my friends laugh or make a teacher laugh, that was huge. Making an adult laugh was a huge deal. Christianity Today caught up with Leanne Morgan. She addressed making fun about her earlier years, which were difficult. She said it's like when Johnny Cash traveled with Billy Graham. He'd talk about prison in real life. She says some people struggle to hold stand-up comedy and Christianity in tension. Morgan says some people said she was a Christian, but now she's a comedian. That hurt my feelings. There was a time when I thought fame would be fun, but now other things encourage me. People come up to me and tell me I helped them get through chemo or the pandemic or their husband's death. It wasn't about me, but they were able to escape life for a bit. I think God wants us to laugh and have a good time. He wants us to be hopeful. Great job by Judah Friedlander. He's been helping out some of the asylum seekers in New York City. Gotham has caught up with him outside the Roosevelt Hotel, and Judah asked two women, do you need food at all? Gothamist writes, the woman, both from Latin America, eyed Friedlander warily before offering quiet thank yous and accepting the snacks. Judah said, what I've been doing the past few days is as simple as this. There's people that are hurting, and I'm just trying to show up and directly help. That's it. There's a class warfare going on, but it's mostly the billionaires against everybody else. Judah said it was his mother who alerted him to the scene of around 150 asylum seekers living on the sidewalk outside the Roosevelt. Friedlander showed up at the hotel, shot a video capturing the city's jarring contrast. It shows the unhoused male migrants who are crammed behind police barricades, as well as the Midtown lunch crowd who seem oblivious to the situation less than a block away. On Twitter, X, whatever we're calling it, Judah said, so many people hurting in the country, whether they're from here, whether they're not from here. It's terrible and it's angering because this country has the resources to do much better. Then he handed out some more food and said it was time to get to his next appointment, which was on the picket line with striking actors and Hollywood writers. Before he did, he took out a cardboard sign he'd made, which said, billionaires hate you. David Koechner explained to the Dallas Morning News what you'll get if you go see him. Koechner said, a night of dynamic entertainment. Here's what it is. I don't want to overstate it. Fellow comedian Rob Maher and I have been doing this for 5 years. He does half an hour and I do an hour. We work very well together. We have different styles, but it's a rock-solid show. The show is hosted by Todd Packer. That's Koechner's character from The Office. But I don't punish the audience the entire time. That'd be a little much. I come out as Todd Packer and do a bunch of the Packer lines to get people stirred up before we get into the trivia. It's 3 rounds of trivia. I tell a bunch of stories about my time on The Office and showbiz stories, little tidbits here and there. We do a Q&A at the end of the show, and the top 2 trivia teams come up on the stage and reenact a scene with myself and Rob. The news asked him why people connect with The Office so much. Koechner said, well, it started with adults getting into it, right? Because they're in the workplace and they recognize that they did have a broad scope of characters they probably identify pretty much with everyone they've worked with, and it's comforting, you know? Then I think the kids probably started watching it, and they started thinking, oh, this is just dumb jokes, but then they started getting the jokes, and now they feel smarter and hipper, right? And then there's a bond with your parents, and as they became teenager, they think all adults are stupid, and then when they get into college, now you got a group of people you're bonding with, and you might have some less apprehension about going to the workforce because all the people you're seeing are a bunch of dumbasses, and when they finally get to the workforce, you prove yourself right. If you enjoy what I do here, go to buymeacoffee.com/dailycomedynews. What would you do on a website called buymeacoffee.com? What you do is you throw some money in the tip jar. I'll get an email from buymeacoffee.com. It'll say like, hey, Smedley bought you a coffee. And then I'll take Smedley's money and I'll go to the National Donuts chain, large iced coffee, caramel milk. Then I'll thank Smedley on the show. Buymeacoffee.com/dailycomedynews. Jason Alexander, you know him as George Costanza on Seinfeld. He was interviewed by Playbill. Jason said the stage has always been his first love. And Seinfeld actually felt right into that. Jason said, that show felt like a theater piece. Every week we were just playing to our live audience. We trusted and believed that the cameras and the director were getting the performance that we were giving to the audience. What I have found in good comedic writing from many different writers is they tend to have a music in their head when they're writing. Neil Simon had his own sense of music. John Shanley has his own sense of music. Larry David has his own sense of music. And when you latch on the music in the author's head, it becomes easy. When he first started Seinfeld, he was doing Costanza as a Woody Allen type. And if you watch the early episodes, you can absolutely see that. Once he figured out Costanza was more or less a stand-in for Larry David, he was able to unlock the character's full comedic potential. Jason quotes Dennis Miller saying, it's called a sense of humor, not a science. You either have it, which allows you to hear the possibilities of these rhythms and this musicality, or you don't. Take a famous piece of comedic material like Who's on First. Look at it on a printed page. There's nothing there. There's no funny. The minute you hear Abbott and Costello start to put the rhythm and the melody on it, it becomes hysterical. There's magic in it. He says the same was true of Seinfeld. When they were writing for, say, Jerry Stiller, they wrote the line, are you telling me there's not one condo available in all of Del Boca Vista? That's not a joke, but when Jerry says it, it becomes radically funny. Writer and performer knew they were singing the same songs. The BBC wrote about The Fringe. Comedy critic Kate Copstick said, I've never known The Fringe to be so censorious. It's not a nice feeling. Last year, Jerry Sadowitz had some of his shows canceled after complaints from staff and walkouts. The complaints said his act was extreme in its racism, sexism, homophobia, and misogyny. Sadowitz is back at Fringe this year, warning audiences, I might just do card tricks and say nothing for the whole hour, or I might just do the usual screaming fascist shtick. Liam Whitnell is playing The Fringe. His show's called Chronic Boom. Yahoo says he positively vibrates on stage, ceaselessly pulsating from one killer anecdote to the next. You'll laugh until your jaw aches. I'm intrigued. Kind of a generic description there, but you'll find Liam at Monkey Barrel Comedy, Monkey Barrel 2. And that's your comedy news for today. Follow the show for free on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your shows. See you tomorrow.
Hi, I'm Mark Francis and host of a new podcast, The Messi Effect. Join us as we take you into the exciting new world of Argentine soccer phenomenon, Lionel Messi. And his new life at Inter Miami will bring you into the glitz, the glamour, the star-studded events, along with the exciting journey to a new world of U.S. soccer and international football with news and stories 3 times a week. Come along for the ride as Messi, Miami, and Major League Soccer experience the journey of a lifetime. Get the Messi Effect wherever you get your podcasts.
Want to lose weight, be less stressed, or manage a condition? Prescription for Wellness can improve your health with personalized sessions based on your schedule. Our expert health coaches and care managers use proven techniques. It's free for UPMC Health Plan members and could lead to the results you want. For more information, visit upmchp.us/pfwellness. That's upmchp.us/pfwellness.